want all podcast lore. We're little lore whores today.
Lore whore.
We're a couple little lore whores.
It's a lore whore episode.
When I was on the road with Rogan, I would take like laptops, and this is when streaming first came out, like live streaming. That's how long ago it was. You know, there wasn't YouTube live streaming either. This is called Justin TV, and which is now Twitch. But wow, this is so long ago. I was dating Esther at the time, and Tony had dated her for like 4 years or something like that, and they had broken up. So when Brody was like, I want Tony Hinchcliffe, I was like, oh fuck, this is gonna be awkward.
That's how y'all met?
Yeah.
What?
About a year to 2 years before I made that video, that was what the comics would talk about at the Comedy Store. Oh, Mencia's coming in, and they would have like sounds, you know, that they would do from the back of the room, like Mencia, like that, and that tells the comic on stage, oh shit, Mencia's in the room. The first episode of Your Mom's House was on my couch in the living room, and my cats are like on like on them while they're doing the show. Meeting Bert Kreischer for the first time, and he did like that machine store. God, it's our fault, you know that. If you think about it.
Hey everybody, come watch me do stand-up. I will be headlining in Janesville, Wisconsin at the Comedy Cabin, March 7th and 8th. March 29th, I'll be in Fort Worth in the Red Room at Hyenas up there. And then April 24th, Deric and I will be co-headlining the La Jolla Comedy Store. And April 25th, we'll be headlining the Comedy Store in Hollywood. So come out and see us then.
Hey everybody, come see Deric do comedy. I will be in Tyler, Texas, February 15th. That's this Saturday. I will be in the Comedy Mothership with Brian Simpson. That is April 4, 5, and 6. And then April 24th, I will be at La Jolla Comedy Store co-headlining with my good friend here, Ehsan. April 25th at the Belly Room in Los Angeles with Ehsan. And then April 26th or 27th, we'll be doing somewhere in San Francisco or San Jose. We haven't nailed that down yet, but the moment we do, you guys will be the first to know. Then May 2nd and May 3rd, I will be headlining here in Austin, Texas at the Velveeta Room. And June 27th and June 28th, I will be doing Janesville, Wisconsin, the Comedy Cabin. Come on out. Come see your boy. More dates will be added soon. I'll have a daughter soon. Enjoy the show. Redban! Redban! Oh my God, we're so excited you're here. Dude, me and Ehsan are a couple, we want all the lore. We want all podcast lore. We're little lore whores today.
Lore whore.
We're a couple little lore whores.
It's a lore whore episode.
It's a lore whore episode. Because people, I heard Tripoli call Rogan the godfather of podcasting. You are definitely the godson.
Godson, yeah. Sure.
You are definitely the godson
At
of
the
podcasting.
very least, Tom Hagen, you're the consigliere.
Yeah, you're the You are a pivotal role in this. The reason that we're doing this right now.
Well, I'm not the horse, so I'm glad about that.
No, not yet. Not yet. I have a million questions because I like to nerd out about comedy as much as the next fucking comedy nerd. Do you remember when Rogan even approached you with the idea?
For podcasting?
Yes.
It wasn't really like that. We kind of fell into it. So I was taking like laptops into the green, like when I was on the road with Rogan, I would take like laptops, and this is when streaming first came out. Like you were like live streaming. That's how long ago it was. You know, there wasn't YouTube live streaming either. This is called Justin TV, and which is now Twitch. But wow, this is so long ago. And I had this idea because my job at the time was following around with Rogan, going on the road, doing like shows in a different city every week, and then taking boxes of videotapes that I had recorded the whole weekend of his stand-up, of us eating at the airport. And my job was to take all this shit and like try to make something out of it, like an episode of we did this thing called Joe Show. And it was like a show on the internet, and it was me pretty much just trying to figure out, like, taking all this shit and like making a story out of it. Like maybe Joe got a tattoo this weekend, so I would try to make the whole episode about getting a tattoo and doing all that stuff. But it took me, because this wasn't like drag and drop the video onto your computer and edit it. It was like you had to sit there with the mini DV tape, hook it up to your computer and hit play and then record the whole thing. Like it took forever just to take the footage onto your computer. And so it was just so much work. So I was trying to find a way, like maybe we could make something that's easier, that involves less editing, you know. And so when live streaming came out, I was like, oh, great idea. What if I just open up this laptop in the green room, and then Rogan and like Diaz and Ari, we could all just sit around and like talk to people, you know, and we did that, and everyone loved it. Joey Diaz hated it because he hated technology and stuff. But and we had so much fun doing that then Rogan's like, "Hey, let's just start coming over to my house and do this once a week, where we just live stream and talk to people and stuff like that." And so me and him just started doing that, and that's what JRE was when we first started it. That's why it's just so laid back. We're just sitting there, kind of like fake snowflakes falling down and stuff. And then after like 3 or 4 episodes, all these people are like, I would love to listen to this at work, but I can't watch this video while I'm at work. So I decided to take the audio off of that and make it a podcast, because this was like podcasting. There was like a few people that did it, but it wasn't really that big of a thing. But it was a way to take audio, and then like people could download it on their iPods and in iPhones and stuff like that. So we started doing that, and then immediately we became like number one, like within like 1 episode, 2 episodes.
No way.
Yeah, we became like number one in iPod the category of iTunes. Like we beat people that have been doing this for years. Nerd. It was mostly nerds that did podcasting at the time. There wasn't that many people, and so then we're like, wow, maybe we should make this a podcast too. And so then every week, me and Joe would go to like Fry's electronics store and just buy new equipment. Like maybe we need new web cameras. Maybe we need new microphones. And there wasn't these kind of microphones. There wasn't these kind of mixing boards back then, because no one was doing this shit. So it was like us just trying to figure out how to do what we wanted to do, like make it sound better. I didn't know how to do sound engineering or anything, so I had to start learning. We got a mixing board one day. I'm like, I don't know how to use this fucking thing. So,
damn.
And
there's no YouTube.
There's no YouTube to figure it out.
To just figure it out.
I'm literally looking at the manual, having to read the manual and shit like that. And it was mostly trial and error. It was like me at home with my cats. Like, okay, test. All right, that's the volume. What's this?
Oh my god. Dude.
Yeah. And so that went on. That's why, like, if you would look at like the first 50 episodes of JRE, the quality, something gets tweaked every week, a little bit better, and a little bit better. And that was just me like trying to fine tune and like try to make it something that's better, because at the time we were using audio from a webcam. We weren't using microphones. And there was no like programs to like make the audio better and and like mix it better. And it was none of that shit. So.
And you guys are just in one of his rooms in his place, right? So you're not like in it like, oh, let's make it a confined.
Yeah, halfway through he would like, I gotta take a shit, and then he would be in the background. And you hear him shitting in the background. I'm like, well, that's yeah. So that's how. So we kind of fell into it.
When you guys were talking to, like you said, so I'm assuming it was almost like a Howard Stern. Like were you talking like pretty much like callers, or like?
Yeah. It was just like there was a chat room, and then people would ask us questions, and it was a lot of us just fucking around and smoke. We were just smoking weed and fucking around with fans and stuff. Because at the time, Joe had a really popular website, message board, and all that stuff. So like he was already really connected to fans. Like I was one of his admins for his message board, and so we probably had 10,000 users, and it was like Reddit, but it was just all about Joe and Joe's world and stuff, and it was just us trolling other people and trolling things, and I mean I pretty much was the master troller at that point, and yeah, it was just a way to take those people from like the message board and the people that fans, and just being able to talk to them with video. So we were like all pumped because like, wow, I can't believe we're live streaming like the news or something.
Damn.
Yeah.
Dude,
that's wild.
That's fucking sick. Because I'm like, the fact that you got number one immediately, and then you've been number one just consistently for fucking 20 years.
It's pretty crazy. I mean, it is, at the beginning, it was literally like 100,000 people every week. Like, it was like, you just seeing the numbers go, what? Like, it was crazy. It was crazy like that.
Holy shit, dude.
When did you realize, like, oh, we're at the forefront of something new here?
I don't know. It's been so fucking long. It's been like almost 15 years or something like that. It wasn't immediately. It was more like, this is like fun and silly, but then other comics and other people started seeing what we were doing, and they started going like, we got to start doing this podcasting. But we were always on the top. I think maybe the first year, like Apple gave us like Podcast of the Year award or something like that. And then we were like, oh shit, like that's pretty fucking cool.
People are
you know?
like, oh, this is like industries.
Right.
Apple is like getting involved.
And then we got our first sponsor. And at that time, there was no sponsors. I mean, even when I broke off and started doing Death Squad and doing all those podcasts, like Your Mom's House and stuff, it was like there wasn't money in it. Like I was just paying it out of my pocket. Like, here, Tom, let me help you with this up and coming podcast, you know, like out of my pocket. But we got our first sponsor, and it was, of course, Fleshlight, which was the best because they just sent us boxes of Fleshlights. And Joe's like, man, here's your box. And I'm like, wow, that's awesome. And it was cool because we had so many Fleshlights, you wouldn't clean them out. You just like use them once and then like throw them out the window when you're driving, you know? Like, whatever.
There's just flashlights on the side of a road from 2012.
Seriously, because that's the worst part of like cleaning them out. But when you had like 500 of them, it's like, who gives a shit?
Was the Fleshlight worth it? Do you think it was worth it?
Fleshlight was great. Fleshlight's great. It's great. I mean, the bad part is washing it out, you know, and just how horrible you feel after you use it. And you're just like, what have I become? You know, like, because it's like when you're done masturbating, it's just like, give me a tissue, I'm out of here. You know, but here you're like, oh, I got to go to the sink and blow this out. You know.
Yeah, blowing your own cum out of a fucking bottle's wild.
It's disgusting. It's so crazy. My Janice bought me a sex toy the other day, and I'm like, "Don't do that!" Like, you know, I don't know. Like masturbating around my girl, that's not what I do. Like, you know, I'm really shy when it comes to things like that. Believe it or not. But she bought me like this high-tech Japanese fleshlight where it looks like a fleshlight, but it has like a suction and a motor in it, and it's like so high-tech, and that is the most humiliating. I mean, like when you have something and it's going, it's making all these horrible noises. I used it once and I'm like, Janice, I'm sorry, I cannot do this. This is uncomfortable as fuck.
Yeah. Also, I don't just trust putting my dick in something mechanical. That seems
something that's rechargeable. No, I don't. I've seen what those scooters do from China, you know, that blow up and shit. I don't want that on my dick.
Oh my God, Redban. Damn, dude. That's so fucking cool. So that a year in, you're or a couple years in, top of Apple. When did the guest rotation start?
Well, we already started that like pretty early on, maybe like within the first couple episodes, and it was just the gang that
the boys
that we would go on the road with. So it was like Ari, Duncan, at the time was Joey. Those three. Then I think maybe Brian Callen and Eddie Bravo would join us and stuff. But it was just pretty much our group. I remember the first time, like when I think Tom Segura, or meeting Bert Kreischer for the first time, and he did like that machine store. God, it's our fault, you know that. If you think about it, if we never did the podcast, that story wouldn't, you know, we could have saved everyone's ears.
And you were meeting him that day? Huh? You met him that day?
Yeah. I mean, when he did the machine on the podcast, that was like the first time ever meeting him, and I remember like, who's this guy? You know, it was fun, man. It was because it started. The big thing is that we, you know, when you used to go on the road, we would have to fly in early and do radio. Yeah. And that sucked, you know, because because I had to film it all. So it was like, you know, would fly in at 4 a.m, would go to a radio station. I'm just like half awake filming Joe at this radio station. And Joe loved the radio so much that he would like, you know, usually a comic comes into town to promote their shows for the weekend, and they would only do like a 10-minute spot, 15-minute spot on the radio. Joe would do like this whole 6-hour show, you know, and that's how much he loved it. So I knew back then, I used to always tell Joe, I was like, you got to get your own radio show. And we joked about that. I was like, maybe you should get like on Sirius XM or, you know, a radio show. And this kind of overtook that. So I knew once we started doing that, oh, dude, this is perfect for Joe. I don't have to make these Joe shows anymore. You know, I don't have to edit this stuff anymore. And so yeah, that was like the best part. I mean, but those Joe shows also brought out, you know, like the Carlos Mencia video that, you know, if I didn't like edit that, well, like, that changed history. You know?
That changed the history of comedy, dude.
Yeah. I was thinking about how that video the other day, that like brought comedy into a new level in the mainstream. in a way that
people
like
understood it more.
people understood it more, and it's like now there's whole YouTube pages, there's an industry based on commenting on comedy.
Yeah.
Like
React videos.
Yeah, people like react videos and
Crazy.
like you know how it is, just people who like that's their entire show is about comedy.
Yeah.
That was the first type of video like that. Like, oh, you can it's not even about the actual set anymore, it's about what's going on behind the set sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And the world cares.
And the world cares.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting.
How long did that like boil up? Like because that's such a eruption of like
Well, you know,
energy.
I forget when you guys got there later, right?
We got there-
2016.
I got there 2015.
Oh my
2016.
God, that's so crazy. Yeah, this was a film that's in 2007.
Yeah, the Mencia thing happened when we were in high school and middle school.
But I remember hearing it. I remember it. I
Yeah,
remember
I
that
remember
being
it.
a thing when that took over the internet. Yeah.
That was huge.
God, you guys are so young. I forgot.
I love Mencia in like 6th grade.
Me too. And you don't know.
Everyone did.
You don't. Yeah, you're just like, oh, this guy's great, bro. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that was huge. And
Yeah.
then this video came out. I'm like, oh, he was stealing jokes, and oh, stealing jokes is bad.
Yeah.
that too.
You don't know. It was
didn't
like
know.
the first lesson for like people who love stand up. Because I love stand up at that point, but like, oh, they're like rules and there's like a world behind it. And like, oh,
Yeah, it's weird. People still don't know that. You know, like we had a person on Kill Tony the other day, and he was just doing street jokes the whole time. And like Tony called him out, like, that's just street jokes. And he's like, you didn't write those. And he's like, yeah, but I memorized them. And I'm like, that's. But no, you're like back then. I remember about a year to 2 years before I made that video. That was what the comics would talk about at the Comedy Store. Oh, Mencia's coming in, and they would have like sounds, that they would do from the back of the room, like Mencia, woo, 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 like that, and that tells the comic on stage, oh shit, Mencia's in the room, no material right now. Oh, let's do crowd work, So it was that bad, and you had heard story after story from other comics, and you heard things here and there, and I had already, before that happened, I had already made like I think one video about Mencia that had something to do with him stealing. It was just a basic video though. It wasn't like I didn't have any proof or anything, but I had already started my like I hate this guy, and I remember that video did nothing. No one saw it. It was like not even on Joe's YouTube. It was just like on my side thing, I think. And I remember one time I was just talking to, I think, Duncan Trussell or something in the hallway, and Mencia comes up, and he knew I made that video, and he just stops right next to me, looks at me, and does like that shit to me, like a chicken neck at me. And I was like, what the fuck? And I just remember, God, I fucking hate this guy. And then literally like a week after is when I filmed all that shit and did it. So I was like, hey, I got you back for that stupid chicken neck thing you did.
holy shit, Redban.
But yeah, so everyone already had talked about it, and people knew about it to the point where there was literally code words to say when Mencia was in the room, because he would come in all the time and just bump people and just do like an hour. He was one of those comics.
Bumper. Yeah.
Bumper.
That's a famous era of the Comedy Store.
Yeah.
I heard about people like him and like Eddie Griffin. just bumping people for hours.
Yeah. I'm surprised they let that still. I bet I hear about it happening still with some comics.
Yeah, but they don't. No, but the 3-hour bump is gone.
Yeah,
the 3-hour bump. No one does that.
No, now it's people pop in and do, and normally I feel like even I've seen people pop in and they just do the time. That's like kind of allotted. Like, oh, everybody's doing 15 minutes. All right, I'll pump in and I'll do 15, 20 minutes. Yeah, but yeah, the pumping in. Also, now that the internet is such a thing, it'd be so hard to get away with that like consistently.
Yeah.
To do that all the time,
Yeah.
you're
Also,
immediately, everyone's going to be like, oh, fuck this guy.
Yeah.
or girl.
Also, you look at what happened to the comics who did that, and they're sort of, it feels like exiled out of Comedy Island a little bit, where they're like on their own sort of thing, and like so much of this job is about being in the community and being a part of it. So it's like no one wants that. No one wants to be outside the community.
Yeah.
Were you already, just the lore of that day, were you already filming that there? Were you there already filming? Or were you like, they were like, yo, get down here.
So
it's going to be a wild night.
Or was this like planned out? Like we're doing this tonight.
No. It wasn't definitely not planned out. So at that time, there was a weird time where, I would film Rogan every day at the Comedy Store, and then Pauly Shore, of all people, hated it. Pauly didn't used to get along with Joe. They used to bump heads a lot.
Wow.
Like, it was like a jealousy thing, in my opinion. But Pauly made Joe stop. I was not allowed to bring cameras anymore because he thought we were making a TV show. He thought we were doing something behind. When we were he didn't know what YouTube was or Joe's website. And so,
Well, you're probably one of the first people to
Right.
follow a guy around with a camera.
Right,
in the
right.
comedy
Also,
world,
was
yeah.
it like a camera like this kind of
I
camera?
used to have those kind of cameras.
Holy
yeah,
shit,
yeah.
that's wild, dude.
See, back then, YouTube wasn't even really a thing, and if it was out, you can only like put up like 5 minutes, videos. So I was doing it. I was really good at like compressing video into really small files, and then so we would just upload it to Joe's website. All these videos. So this was before YouTube. And that's one of the reasons Joe hired me is because I was like one of the few people that knew how to compress video really small into websites. So it wasn't even like a YouTube thing at that point. But Paulie's like, no more cameras. So luckily, Rogan had Fear Factor money, and he would be like, all right, let's get the smallest little cameras we can find, and we'll just keep them on you in case of emergencies, then you could pull them out instead of the big cameras that I usually carry around. And so luckily at the time, Sony had all these like point and shoot digital cameras. I don't know if you remember those,
Yes.
like little, but they did
little
video.
squares.
They did little video. You know,
Yeah.
they didn't do video great, but they did video enough for emergencies. So I had like one in each pocket. I had like the first cell phone camera that did video at the time. I forget it was like I forget what it was, Samsung something. And so I had like 4 cameras on me. And then I was out. Joe went on stage, and I was outside, just like on the front patio. And Ari Shaffir runs out and goes, "Hey, do you got any cameras on you?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I was like, "Yeah, I got cameras on me." He's like, "You got cameras on me." And so I ran inside, and pretty much Carlos Mencia just stormed the stage. You know, like it wasn't like, you know, he wasn't scheduled to come up. He just got on stage, and after like Joe was getting off stage, Carlos just ran on stage. And that's right when I got in, and that's when it started.
That's when you see,
So Carlos confronted Joe.
Yeah.
Okay, that's how it goes. Because in your mind, just because you think because Joe won so heavily,
Right.
that you think Joe confronted him.
No,
but it was the other way
I
And
around.
Joe's on stage too.
So
you're like,
I think what happened is Joe was Kirk Fox was on next.
Wow.
Wow.
And Kirk Fox was
Crazy.
one of the writers of Mind of Mencia, the TV show on Comedy Central that was #1 from Carlos Mencia. So I think Joe goes, "Oh, you're gonna love this next comic. You might know him from the Mind of Mencia. Give it a." And then Carlos heard him say that, ran past Kirk Fox, got on stage. And then Joe was like about to give the microphone to Kirk, but then Carlos ran on and grabbed the microphone, and that's when I start filming.
Wow, and that's why Joe doesn't have a mic in the beginning of the video. Because
Right.
I remember Jeff Scott, you see Jeff Scott hand him a mic at a certain point.
Right. And by the way, shout out, rest in peace, Jeff Scott. He actually was the one, I could say this now, because he was the one that actually gave me the soundboard audio of that whole thing. Because my little microphones, they weren't cut. You couldn't hear shit from these like little cameras. It would have just been like the whole time. But Jeff, after the show, was like, "Here, take this."
R.I.P. So Jeff Scott's involved? That's fucking crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hear Jeff Scott recorded all those shows.
Oh, yeah, he
So
recorded all of them.
There is somewhere.
Well, probably not anymore. I mean, unless it's in storage.
No, it's somewhere. It exists somewhere, unless someone threw it away.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but there's like I call it like the fucking Library of Alexander or whatever. Remember that one that burned down and all that knowledge
yeah.
lost away.
Yeah.
He has the comedic version of that somewhere.
Yeah, and probably when he
And it
passed,
might have been thrown away.
Richie probably was like, "Oh God, boxes of his gay porn."
It's just the wildest nights of all time.
Yeah, just
People getting blowjobs on
Right.
stage and fucking.
Yeah.
Bro, recordings of like late Carlin, late Richard.
Oh yeah, like with the wheelchair era.
Yeah, wheelchair era. We're talking real deal pieces of history he just had. I mean, the fucking the Mencia Rogan thing.
He gave me one because like me and Jeff were really close. He gave me one, and I forgot he gave it to me, and I have it somewhere. It was the day that Chappelle came back from Africa after the Chappelle show, and he went to the Comedy Store. I have that on CD somewhere.
Holy shit.
That's crazy. You have that's like an artifact.
I need to find that.
That's a comedy artifact.
That's an
man.
artifact.
Well, I couldn't tell anybody because I didn't want to get in trouble. I didn't want to get Jeff in trouble.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, well, I guess it's
what
bets
are
are off now.
Mad at Jeff now.
Oh, that's why I'm glad. I mean, I never knew that Jeff was a part of this. One of the biggest things that ever happened in comedy, the Mencia moment. You know,
Right.
and fucking Jeff Scott is fucking behind the scenes.
Right.
Oh my god, that's so cool to me, bro.
Yeah, you have to find find that, especially if all the recordings are gone.
Right.
That's legendary.
I know. I
you
have it
have-
somewhere, but unfortunately, I have. I mean, especially with working with Rogan, just so much. Like when I die, poor little Janet's going through all that shit, man.
Yeah, I think about Mencia moment, and there was this one I remember. This is before I'm even into comedy, where I'm like doing comedy, but I'm so into it. The video is like Ari and Joe, and they're like, I don't know if you're at an airport or whatever, and I'm assuming that it has to be you recording.
Yeah.
And they're talking about the South Park episode.
Oh, yeah,
because
yeah.
it had just came
Yeah.
out. And you ever seen that? And
Gay,
it's,
gay
No.
fish.
I've never
yeah, bro.
You've never seen Gay Fish?
No, I've seen the episode. I haven't
okay.
seen that video.
Okay.
No, I've seen
Bro,
Gay
and
Fish.
it's just them, like clearly either like an early flight or they're doing something, and they're just like downstairs and they're like dying laughing about it. Like they had just watched it for the first time. And it was just like I remember that vividly in my brain. I'm like, whoa, that's crazy, bro.
Well, yeah, it's a really big moment. The whole comedy world united against him. It was why I ain't got no dick, man. I don't know. I don't got no dick, bro. That shit.
Wow, dude. Do you remember? I guess because it's the boys, you're all on the pod having fun, and then when it was, or did you always know like, yo, he's gonna eventually start having like scientists on and fucking
No.
big, like things like that. Like when did that start, or when did you see that switch? Like, oh, we're bringing in like authors and like, okay,
It switched. Yeah, it definitely switched. It took a while to switch, but I remember when we had like Neil deGrasse Tyson on, and I'm like, I'm just dumbass, goofy ass Redban back in the day, and I remember that's when I felt, okay, this is changing into something else. This isn't like the comedy podcast that it started at.
Yeah.
My days are numbered now. I think I asked Neil deGrasse Tyson what would happen if we squirted in space or something like that. Squirted in space. It was so funny. I remember like that's one of those things I look back on. I'm like, oh man, I can't believe I did that. What a dumbass I did. But literally, Lex was on Friedman was on JRE the other day. And it starts off with Jamie asking what would happen if you came in space, like if you would shoot backwards or something like that. I'm like, that a boy. See?
Redban, some questions are timeless, dude.
Yeah, because now I also want to know the answer to that question, actually.
Wow. So during this time, Joe's now taking off. He's bringing on scientists. When does the Segura, your mom's house thing start, and how does that start?
So that happened pretty early on because what happened is we were doing it in Joe's bedroom, apartments, or his office at his house, and there was some guests that like Andy Dick that he didn't want really over at his house. And so
Totally understandable.
so that kind of was like going on, and then the popularity of the podcast became so big that I was just like, God, I'm one of the only people that know how to do this, and I have so many friends like Ari and Joey and Sam and Tom, and I was like, I want to like help them and make them podcasts. So I had this idea to do a podcast network, and my idea was it would just be called Death Squad, and all the podcasts would be under one umbrella, so that instead of all these people trying to hunt for every show, you just subscribe to one podcast and you get all the podcasts that are under Death Squad. So I just came to all these guys. I'm like, some like Tom didn't want to do it for the longest time. I remember Joe Joe really was like, just let Brian do this podcast. Trust me. And, we started off doing podcasts at my bedroom. I made a studio in my shitty small apartment in Burbank. And like the first episode of Your Mom's House was on my couch in the living room. And my cats are like on, like on them while they're doing the show. And then I started doing Brody, and then I started doing Sam Tripoli, and then I started doing, just Joey Diaz. We used to do one, and then Joe could come over with JRE, and we did a lot of JREs there too, like for the people that you didn't really, But then after having Andy Dick on my at my house, he kept on going into the bathroom like every 10 minutes during the show and stuff, and I'm like, man, I need to find somewhere else to do this. I don't want Andy Dick at my house, So, and that's when I got the studio at the Ice House, and I rented out this room. And by the way, again, all out of my pocket. All of this was like me, like all the money I was making working for Joe, all like my savings was paying for microphones and cameras and rent now at the Ice House, all coming out of my pocket just for free. And I would edit. I didn't have any employees. I would sit up and set up the cameras. Then afterwards, I would edit it all, and then I would upload it all of my free time. Now, at one point, I was doing 11 podcasts a week. And I literally had I would just do JRE during the day, go at night, go all the way to Pasadena, do like 3 podcasts over there, then go home and then edit JRE and all the podcasts and then upload everything. And so I was like, literally, that was my life 24/7, was doing all that. And so then all the podcasts we started doing at the Ice House. That's when it really grew with like the Ice House Chronicles and stuff like that. And all that. Yeah. So.
What exactly was the Ice House Chronicles?
So Ice House Chronicles, the best way to do so it was at my studio was at the Ice House, and so I would have my secret show. I think every Friday. So I would have a podcast that would start at like 7:00, and then all the comics that were on the show would just hang out, kind of like the green room at Sunset or whatever. Would all just be smoking weed, drinking, but doing a podcast around this huge table. I think I had 10 microphones around this table.
Oh, wow.
And then I would sit over there and kind of like try to direct it all, like, so it wasn't just chaos. And then one by one, people would go on stage, come back, and would talk shit about like, oh my God, I just bombed or whatever.
Yeah.
And then at some points, I even had like remote cameras, so you could like see the person on stage. You couldn't hear them, but you could see them on stage, you know, if anything went down. It was cool. And I did that for a long ass time, you know, and there was so many people that would pop in. Joe would like do it every week for like the first 3 years or so of the Ice House Chronicles. And so it was just like, I was going to go through and, you know, edit any sensitive shit out of it, you know, and re-release them because so many people have never seen them, and they're brilliant because it's like the really old days of when you got to see, you know, all these comics that are now huge just hanging out, you know, and we're all just getting stoned together doing comedy. It's actually fucking awesome. And you know, recently I had taken down all my Death Squad podcasts, and there's only like, I think I put back up Brody's ones and a couple other, but I have taken them all down, and a lot of people don't even know about all this, you know, never seen all this. So eventually I think I may start releasing some of these, but I think because of the time, you know, that was 10 years ago, there's probably like sensitive stuff that I don't want to get people canceled now because times have changed, you know what I mean?
Right. Also, it's a green room hang. The things that say, a green room hang, it's a different hang.
Well,
it's a different kind of hang.
It was broadcast already, you know, and there's already copies probably around there, but I don't know.
Also, to see arena acts just going and doing a spot, just going and doing a 10-minute, 12-minute spot.
And before they were arena acts,
right.
too. Like, I think one of the biggest services that this whole podcasting thing has done to comedy is that, like, people are now fans of the process in a way that they weren't even when I first started.
Right.
And you know, at that point, Ice House Chronicles had already been out, but like still, most people were just still finding comedy. Now, especially at the mothership, if someone sees me, a lot of the compliments that I get, which are amazing, are like, I like how you changed that. I like how you put that in a different place.
Oh, cool.
I like how you, like.
That's cool.
But like, it's people who grew up watching that.
Right.
Who realize like, oh, this is like a whole art form, and you got to say a joke a bunch of times to make it work, and sometimes it bombs. Like, yeah, it's really.
I like that, but I also hate that because that means people keep on coming and you're like, damn, stop coming because you're seeing like the same.
Oh yeah, bro. When you see the same people in the front row, when you see the same people in the front row 3 or 4 shows in a row, that is just it's awesome. I get that they love it because they do love the process, but it is like, man, I just seeing your face makes me feel fake.
I know. That's why one of my favorite questions that I always do is like, by round of applause, clap if you're from out of town. And when that's like, oh, it's like 75% of the people are out of town, I'm like, yes, I can, you know, I kind of like lift, I feel better.
Because you feel like you're doing like a road show. It's like, oh, I might as well be in like Cincinnati. I'm in a different city right now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that is like, I'll see it on especially the mothership Reddit of like people be like, I went like 3 times in a month and I saw the same jokes. It's like, a joke, like a set takes like a year to put together sometimes.
I mean, you see a band 3 times in a month, don't you think you're going to hear pretty much the same songs? Like, what the fuck? Oh, I'm just going to write a song every day.
Yeah, because it's like, if you saw me last year and this year, I have a completely different 15 minutes. But if you saw me incrementally, like once a month during all that time, you would think I tell the same jokes, even though the 15 minutes are completely different.
Yeah.
You'd be like, he tells nothing new because you've just seen me a lot.
Yeah.
No, it's a good thing and a bad thing because they do love the process, those people, but again, they are ruining the process a little bit. Yeah, you mentioned Brody. Do you have any favorite Brody moments?
Oh man, I have so much Brody memories, man. Fuck, you know, Brody. I did his show and hanging out with Brody. I've seen the ups and downs, when Brody went crazy and got committed and all that stuff. And the first couple episodes that we ever did with Brody, my favorite Brody moment, episode 1 of Brody's podcast, Brody was like, "All right, Brian, I want to invite 2 of my friends." And I'm like, "Okay. Who you invite?" He's like, "Benji, you know Benji?" And I'm like, "Oh, I love Benji. Benji's a good friend of mine." And he's like, "And Tony Hinchcliffe." And I'm like, "Wait, Tony, why does that name sound, oh, fuck. Is that," I was dating Esther at the time, which was Esther Pavitsky, Little Esther.
Little Esther.
And Tony had dated her for like 4 years or something like that. And I didn't know who Tony was. I had never met Tony. Like, I don't know who he was. And so when Brody was like, "I want Tony Hinchcliffe," I was like, "Oh, fuck. That's the guy." He's like, "He's a good friend of mine." I'm like, "All right, well, this is going to be awkward. Esther, you're going to have to hang out in the bedroom while this podcast is going on."
That's how y'all met?
Yeah.
What? Did you know that?
No, I had assumed y'all just met at the Comedy Store or whatever,
No.
but you had stopped going around the Comedy Store at that point.
Yeah, we were banned. All of us were banned
Oh,
because
I
of the Carlos
forgot, 'cause of the
Mencia
Mencia
video. So Tony and a group of people came while me and Joe and Diaz and Ari and everyone was banned. So I never knew who Tony was. I met Esther at the Improv. I was just like, "Who's this adorable little princess girl?" Like,
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my first thing was Tony, and the whole time, and you could watch that episode, and I'm just like, fuck this guy, fuck this guy.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and now we're just business partners.
Wait. So how did that working relationship start?
Me and Tony?
Yeah.
So after a while, I just became cool with Tony. After me and Esther broke up, I think it was just kind of like I started seeing him around, and he was friends with my friends, like Matt Egger, I was friends with, and like Benji and stuff. So I was just like, he's cool. I mean, I don't give a shit about him anymore, Esther anymore.
Yeah.
So then we just started knowing each other, and then I started coming back to the Comedy Store, and that's how, it just.
Did you start coming back before Joe had come back?
Yeah. So Ari was the first one to come back because
Okay.
he lived right next to it. And then when he started going, because I used to go there every day and I missed all those people. I hated just hanging out at the Improv. And so then I didn't know if I was allowed to come back. So I would wear a fake wig.
No,
and
Redban.
No way.
I promise you.
No.
I
way.
promise you. I'd wear a fake wig and I would sit by the back door, and like I forget who was working the door. It was somebody. It was like PJ or something. I don't know if you guys know PJ, but there was a couple of my friends and I would just be like sitting across from them smoking a cigarette and waiting for them to figure out who I was, and they would come up and be like, "Can I help you, sir? You got your tickets to this show?" And I'm like, "I don't know, do I?" And like just fucking with them. And then they're like, "Brian, what the fuck? What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know if I'm allowed here." So I did that for like the first couple times, and then I just started like coming there.
Yeah.
And no one ever said anything like, "You're not allowed to come here." And then after a while, it was just everyone was cool with me being there, and I forget who I was talking to, but I think was it Adam? It might have been Adam.
So he gets already around?
I think Adam was around. Well, maybe not. I can't remember, man. Because I knew Adam. I met Adam in Phoenix. I knew Adam already. I knew Adam way before he even moved to LA. And it was either Adam or somebody. I want to say it was Adam. Started letting me do shows there because Death Squad was so popular. JRE was so popular. And so I did a secret show in the main room, and I had Doug Stanhope starting off the show.
Mm-hmm.
And then I asked Joe, I was like, "Will you come on the show, like your return to the Comedy Store?" And he's like, "Fuck it, let's do it." And so Joe on my secret show came back to the Comedy Store, and that's how it just all started. Then I started doing secret shows all the time at the Comedy Store, and then they just gave me a Monday night. They're like, "Brian, if you want a Monday before Ding Dong show, that's your spot, 8 o'clock Ding Dong show." So then I started I was like, I don't want to do a comedy show because it's Monday, but I would like to do a podcast. So I started doing a thing called The Secret Show, the podcast. And that was me and Jason Tebow. He was my co-host. And then it was kind of like a panel show where we just have comics on, kind of like Kill Tony minus the bucket. That's pretty much exactly what like it was. We even had where there was artists there every week drawing the episode, and like all the like little pieces of Kill Tony were actually in that show. And I did it for like, I don't know, 10, 15 episodes, but Tebow was such a drunk at the time, like half the time he wouldn't show up and shit. And it was just like, fuck. So I like canceled it, and I was like, I need to think of a new format. Like, should I just do it, like be the only host of the show? Should I, like I need to do something? And that's when Tony came up and was like, Brian, I have an idea for a show.
You have a better Ari than you have a Tony.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, your Tony sounds like a gayer Brody.
Right. It does. That's funny. And then, so he's like, he had this idea for a show that, and I was like, well, we can combine these, and we just do that and try it out. And that's how it started. So
It was what, Hinchcliffe's Notes at first?
the first episode, he wanted to call it Hinchcliffe Notes, and I kind of liked it. And then I think we called it Hinchcliffe Notes the first episode.
It's a great name.
Yeah, I mean, it is. No, but that
also-
would have never have done anything, though, if it was called Hinchcliffe Notes.
Also, Cliff Notes don't exist anymore, really. So it's
Yeah,
like
I know.
the reference would be lost.
Right. So,
Yeah.
Also, Kill Tony's.
Kill Tony's way better.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, Kill
So,
Tony's the
yes.
name.
So the second episode, I think, is when we changed it to Kill Tony. And the idea was based off Kill Bill. And then, down the line, that's why we started having female regulars, like Kim Congdon, Sarah Weinschenk, because it was supposed to be based off Kill Bill, And then, so that's why we only had females for the first couple years as regulars, but then we kind of got over that. So,
Well, then you guys were like, let's get some funny comedians. No, come on, Kim, you know I
kind of
love
what
you.
I was trying to say.
Kim, Sarah, you know I love you. Just talking shit. But when did you feel the growth? Because when we showed up to the Comedy Store, you guys were still in the belly room, which is so cool that you're in arenas now. But you guys are still in the belly room. But it was like at the point where now the belly room is like, it was like a.
Oh, I used to.
You couldn't come in. Remember, like
Like roast battle.
It was like roast
Yeah,
battle,
yeah.
where
It was
like
way
you
bigger
had to
than
tell
roast
people like, hey, you can't. Comics were just waiting in the stairway. Like
Right.
it got to that point.
I used to hate working Kill Tony on Mondays in the belly room because it was so hot,
Yes.
so uncomfortable.
And
So,
you're
like,
telling everyone no that you
you're
can't.
te-
They can't come in,
you're
and people are
telling
getting
everyone no.
mad at you.
Yeah, and we're when you're a door guy, you're basically just like an open micer first class. So we're basically an open micer telling other open micers they can't come in.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there's a whole like level of politics to that on the under level of comedy that you're trying to navigate. Meanwhile, the room is uncomfortable. It also clearly at that point when I started working, clearly should have been in the main room.
Yeah, I mean, that's about that time's when we was like, maybe we should start charging for it. So, because it was so many people. So I think that was really scary for us because we were free and we didn't want to like kill our audience. But then immediately, I think we started off like $3, maybe $5. And then we noticed it was just as packed. And then we're like, shit, maybe we should go to $10 and move to the main room. And we were so scared to do that because we were like, we don't want to kill this show. We don't want to kill the magic of this show. But immediately we did $10 and it almost started selling out over there. Like almost, after a few months, we were like, damn, this is working, So it happened. There was a big wave where finally we started getting people in the belly room. And then when we moved to the main room, that was a huge jump. And that's when we started to, go on the road a little, with Kill Tony. And then we started doing we went to Australia, went to England and all this shit.
Yeah.
And then that was a big peak. Then COVID just killed everything for us, because that's like one of the biggest shows you have to have an audience for. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
And so our COVID days were very bad.
And you need a sign-up list. You need comics coming and signing up and waiting.
Yeah, doing stand-up over Zoom calls and shit is like literally death. But we made it work. You
stayed alive.
We stayed alive because people at least needed something. And then moving to Texas was probably the biggest, jump. And then within the last year, it's really gone crazy. But yeah.
When the move to Texas happened, Who was it? Tony's idea? Was it your idea, or was it like a combination of like both? Like, hey, we got to get out of here we got to get out of here.
So Rogan moved here with Jamie. I don't know, July, June, something like that of 2020. I still work for Joe, so I was like, "Fuck, does that mean I have to move?" I'm like, I guess I need to think about moving, because and I was originally like, "Shit, what do I do? Do I like, fly back to do Kill Tony, or do I just kind of go, And I was like, kind of in my head, I was like, "What are we doing?" And then I got a phone call from Joe, and Joe's like, "Hey, Jamie has COVID. Can you come down and fill in for him for a couple weeks and do JRE?" And I'm like, "Fuck yeah, that would be awesome." And I was like, I was thinking like, why don't they just take a couple weeks off? And then I was like, oh, because it's Kanye West. And I'm like, oh, poor Jamie. Literally Jamie's favorite person in the world. So I came down and I filled in and did Kanye, Matthew McConaughey, a few other people, and I had so much downtime though. I was here for 2 weeks. Joe put me up in a nice hotel, and during the day I was like, fuck, maybe I could just look at houses. I'll just start looking at houses because I had saved up a lot of money, and I was thinking about buying a house in LA, but I just the cheapest one I could find where I wanted to live was like $1 million for a rat-infested one-bedroom shithole, that fixer-upper. And then so I was like so bummed, like I'm not buying a house here. But I had saved up. And so I was looking around, and literally like the third house I found, I was like, man, this is a brand new fucking McMansion. It's 4 bedrooms, 2 studios. The whole second floor is just a big studio.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Like offices and shit like that. And I'm like, this is half the price of that shitty house that I was going to buy in Burbank for $1 million. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to sign and see if I get approved. Immediately I got approved while it was still out here. And I was like, well, I guess I have a house. Didn't tell Janice. Didn't tell anybody. Literally. Like, I was like, what the fuck am I doing?
That's so funny.
It's so crazy.
All the things to hide from your girl is property.
A mansion?
A mansion. That's so
or
crazy.
hey, Janice, we're moving. But yeah, I came home, told Janice, she was psyched. Because at the time, this was after the riots, after COVID, during COVID. And it was just like LA, it was not the same LA anymore. It was like, kind of like, what the fuck is happening to this city? It was just, we both started just hate living there. And
we were right there with you. Oh, we left. We moved too.
Well, when you're the reason LA was fun is that there was so much things to do. When all that's taken away from you, you're like, well, I'm just in this crowded, congested, dirty city
super
for
expensive.
no reason. Yeah.
I can't even afford it because they're not letting us work.
Yeah.
So I remember I didn't even tell Tony until like we had to film an episode of Kill Tony. This is when they allowed us back into the main room with no audience, or something like that.
And everyone had to be like separated, right?
And I remember I was setting up, and Tony walks in. I was like, "Bought a house, Tony. Moving to Texas. Guess I can fly out every week or so, or we'll figure it out. Maybe bunk some back." In my head, I was like, "I don't even know if I'm going to be doing Kill Tony anymore." I was so like homed in on like just get the fuck, move out to Texas, whatever. And I remember he had not really thought about it. Like he maybe a little, but I think it took him like a week or so until he was like, "Yeah, I'm going to move too." And then we had to tell the rest of the band, like Jeremiah.
The band was huge at that point.
Yeah, and all of them. And I remember, I think it was like a week after Tony told announced that me and him were moving, and it really freaked everybody out because
it freaked.
Right.
I'm not even a part of the Kill Tony universe like that. When I saw y'all move, I was like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
I think people are moving.
Oh, yeah.
I remember Fahim came out here, and then Adam, and then Curtis,
Jamar Neighbors,
and Jamar, and I was like,
our friend Dylan Sullivan.
Dylan Sullivan. I couldn't believe Dylan. Like there was a few. Like I was like, I couldn't even believe it. Like
yeah.
And I was like, oh, I gotta move out. I remember at the time I had a really big TikTok live. And I remember having just a panic attack on TikTok Live, being like, I'm going to have to move to Austin.
I remember you telling me this.
I don't want to move to Texas.
Right.
I don't want to. But I knew. I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
I have to move.
And it happened fast, too, because I think then the week after that, we were like, well, we got to film some episodes to bank. Because I think this was like the end of November, and we were moving. I think I think I was moving. Oh, I was moving Christmas, and so I had to pack my house at the beginning of December and everything, and move mid-December. So we told everyone like, hey, we're going to film like 4 episodes in the next 2 weeks. So we had extra episodes to have. And, you know, the band was so angry. And that's why if you watch like the last 4 episodes before we moved, like, there was so much. Yeah. There was so much I edited out.
Oh, I've heard the story. I've heard some crazy stories about how those last ones went.
Yeah. And, then Tony quickly also, you know, I moved out. And then I think I was out here for a couple weeks. And then I think Tony, I don't know if he moved out immediately or he came out, found a place. But he also, you know, ran into Gary Clark Jr., who introduced us to a lot of the band, and Gary Clark Jr. is one of the owners in Antone's. So we found a place immediately. So once we used our last bank episode, literally the next week, we went to Antone's in front of an audience. You know, we were like, oh my God, we're in front of an audience again, and we just haven't stopped since then. So it just the timing and everything was just magically. We found, you know, Tony found this band too, you know, that we love, and then it was convincing like our regulars, William and David and all of them, because I still was doing a podcast with them called Brothers in Cursive.
Yeah.
At this point, I had a studio in Burbank, and I was only doing like Brian Holtzman and stuff like that. And I had to like try to convince Brian Holtzman and all those guys to move. And at first they weren't going to move, but then once a couple of weeks they were just like flying out to do like a couple spots at Antone's, you know, and they all like immediately fell in love with everything. And then next thing you know, all the guys are moving out. So it happened pretty fast, and it was just like perfect because we were kind of freaked out, you know. Me and Tony pretty much just starting the show over from scratch. And luckily, like Michael Lehrer and everybody just like started coming out, and we're like, thank God. And it's starting to work. It's working.
Yeah. And I remember the energy of the Antons just when it was back.
Yeah.
Like, because everyone was so excited. You could just, those first couple of shows, it was, I remember, it was like, whoa, there's a fucking like, people are dying for this, dude.
Yeah. Because it had been so long, you know, of sitting at home, not being in a live show or being in a bar even, you know, is such a great feeling. And to attach it to like, wow, thank God we moved here. Like, this is what life is supposed to be like.
Yeah.
And watching people in LA go through like another 7 months of not being able to do what we're doing. It was just like, guys.
And calling us crazy. I remember that. Everyone in LA, like, you guys are crazy. You guys are out. And it's like, bro, what do you think's happening?
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. But yeah, I remember when Ehsan came to visit, because I was already moving here, and I was like, bro, just come visit me. And he came and stayed, and it was like a week that you planned out? Or
I was there for 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Day one. Literally came, stayed day one. He goes out, he goes, does spots, comes back, he's back at the place, and he was like, all right, so I'm looking for apartments. And I was like, yo, that's what I knew. I was like, okay, man, this is going to be, it just made me feel calm. And then Brian immediately moved, and it happened like,
And then the last day I was there on my initial trip was the Peng Dang thing.
Oh, shit.
Really? We saw that in person.
Yeah, I was literally with Tony.
You guys were at the
Peng
secret
Dang,
show.
Tony, someone, me. So I remember, we were literally leaning on the thing, watch, because I was up into. So I was just like watching, you know. And it's so funny how that night, it was just a funny moment. That's how I like it. If you were there that night, it wasn't like everyone was talking about it after. It was like, no, it happened, and then it was funny, and then got food later. Like it wasn't like some, you know, it wasn't as big a. You can tell the way he edited it. He made it look, because it wasn't, and that's why I'm glad Ari released the full edit. Because then you see like, oh no, it was just a night of comedy. It wasn't. That wasn't some crazy thing.
Right.
Like, if you saw the full context, you've seen why it wasn't a crazy thing.
And if you knew that, like, he forgot to tell everybody, oh, by the way, I used to open up for Tony, and we know each other, and Tony's actually taken on me on the road taking me on the road a couple of times. Like, that's the fucked up shit. Like,
And then I love that when you see the full context, you see like, oh, he was being a hack. Oh, he was making fun of him being a hack.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
He was okay. This all like lines up now.
Yeah.
Like, but again, that was also just like, man, it's gonna be a crazy city.
Right.
That didn't happen within your first 2 weeks.
That happened my first week.
That's
and I was
crazy.
Like, yeah. Just, I think I got approved for the apartment that day.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and I was like, okay. Because I went back home just to get ready to move, and then my phone I was like, whoa, this is crazy. I was there. I was there. Yeah, and it was at the time. It wasn't anything.
Yeah.
And then then the Chinese media went crazy.
Oh God, the amount of gay comedians calling me like, dude, you can't associate with those guys anymore. People literally like people that we know, famous people calling me like, you can't associate with.
Oh
those people
yeah,
anymore.
yeah.
It was fucking crazy, dude.
Yeah.
Just the gays. It also was kind of nice because you got to see who was like really lame.
Yeah, every time Tony gets canceled, it's really interesting to see who. Like one of my favorite things is just to see, like, go on my Facebook of all places, and just see what they're saying on like really you? I didn't see that coming.
Yeah,
Wow, you got to remember
like
this.
Waiting for a chance to strike someone down.
Yeah.
Just waiting. Just
gross.
thinking that like, oh, if he's down, that means I'll be up.
Yeah,
With
so
no idea.
With Joe too, with when it was especially the COVID and like the N-word shit and all that.
Yeah.
You seen like, oh, this is okay. It was kind of like you needed it. Like, all right, see who you are, see who you are, see who you are. Okay, And I do like the community of the Austin scene now. Like the hangs are the best. I love being Sunset's the best. Thank you for making that place.
The Sunset
And
Green Room
putting
is
video games back
so.
there.
I love it.
The Sunset Green Room is so much fucking fun.
I mean, the mothership green room is great, but the only thing that's missing is it's so small, and it's that's why I think the Sunset's such a great compliment to the mothership, because it's like here's a bigger group, so there's more hang here and stuff like that.
And just the levels, like not everybody can get into the mothership group.
Right.
You have a better chance of like, oh, I can probably hang out Sunset, and I can get cool with some guys, and next thing you know, you're on some more shows.
Right.
You know how it goes.
Yeah,
Getting cool with people is how you get on Black Rabbit shows and this shows,
Right.
and like, and so that's why it is. It definitely made the scene a lot better.
Yeah, I love the community here. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the Sunset Green Room is just, I've always had so much fun there.
Yeah.
And it is like, it's more like, the Mothership Green Room is crazy fun too, but like, everybody, it's like a more insular group. The Sunset Green Room, there's just some wild cards. I meet a lot of people there.
Yeah.
But it's not as wild card as hanging out the Greek patio.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, I don't need that much wild card.
Right.
It's like it's a great, it's like, it reminds me of like which was my favorite place to hang at the Comedy Store, the patio.
Mm-hmm, me too.
That's what it reminds me of.
Out. Yeah.
I love the patio.
Yeah.
The patio is, to me, the best. A lot of people like Sacred Ground, which was awesome, but I was a patio guy, and then I would love hanging in the lot too.
Yeah.
I like lot in that area behind the area near back door.
You are a lot boy. I remember.
I'm a big lot guy.
I used to always just sit there, hang with Toby, like at the front bar, and just chug with drinks with him all night.
And you could also like watch the street. It's like there was so much going on.
Yeah,
Right.
you were the first one to get shot.
So you're the first one to get murdered.
You're in the front lines.
I saw the guy, the dead guy who got murdered.
That was, how we talked about that. The Peng Dang thing was my first week in Austin. My first week working as a door guy.
Are you
shooting.
fucking kidding me? You know what's crazy about that?
There's always an attempted murder my first week in a place.
that was such a weird day, because literally I would hang out at Comedy Store almost every single day, and that day, just particularly, like I remember me and I think Tony and like 10 of my friends, we all just decided, we didn't talk to each other. We just decided not to go that day. And then that happened. You know what I mean?
Wow.
It was just one of those weird things. Like, and I remember that day where he got shot, I usually always sit at the table where he got shot and talk to Mike Black. Like that was like that day I would always just hang out with Mike. I just happened not to be there that day. Like I could have been sitting right there where it happened.
God, that's crazy. Yeah, you were a patio guy. You would always be hanging on the patio.
This was the crazy part about that day, right? So, for me, that day starts off, Trey Stewart gets me on a show. It's like, hey, you want to do a show? I was like, oh, that's fine. He doesn't tell me it's a rap battle show. So I have to go on stage and rap battle Sarah Weinshank.
Oh, that's
with maybe 5 minutes of preparation. I bomb, and I was like, okay, I'm never going to forget this as the day I had to rap battle improv. And then I get to the store, and it's Roast Battle, and this is the time before the lady called the fire marshal on Roast Battle, so Roast Battle was packed.
Yeah.
Right? Roast Battle was packed, and usually it gets around the time of shooting is around when Roast Battle gets let out. Hundreds of people on the patio. It's crazy. That day, Tiffany Haddish is the judge of Roast Battle. And she is fucking just like, she's killing, but she's also doing a lot. So basically, Roast Battle runs about an hour late.
Yeah, she's being a Tiffany Haddish.
Yeah. So Roast Battle runs an hour late because she is just on one.
Right.
Because of that, there aren't that many people on the patio that there would have been. The shooting happens when it's a little less crowded.
Right.
the only person who gets shot is the guy who was targeted.
Yeah, thank
if it's
God.
out, if it was a normal roast battle, this is a way bigger problem.
Yeah.
So because Tiffany Haddish effectively ran the light, she
Tiffany saved all these lives.
a lot.
She saved a lot of
She
lives.
saved a lot of lives.
Tiffany fucking Haddishing it.
Right, because the guy shot 7 times. Not all 7 times hit the guy.
Right.
So if there had been more people on that patio, there'd been more chances for someone to get real hurt. It was crazy.
I'm glad I wasn't there that day because I would have probably not have gone to the Comedy Store for a long time after that.
Yeah, seeing a guy get murdered right in front of you while you're trying to talk to Mike Black.
No.
I didn't, see the,
I know.
I didn't see the murder, but that was the first dead body I've ever seen in
Wow.
like, the wild.
Yuck.
Crazy.
Damn. And Tiffany Haddish used to be on Kill Tony, right? In the early days?
She would fill in for the Patriot. You know, I would dress her up as a robot. Pretty much, we had that guy, the Patriot, for the first couple episodes, and then after he left, then I just went on Amazon and tried to make a costume that looked like a Patriot. Even had like the robot voice and stuff, and so we'd dress her up like as a little Patriot once in a while.
She would just give a good queef.
Yeah, yeah.
Legendary queef.
Yeah, but yeah, she was my road dog. I used to go on the road with her a lot back in the day.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, me, her, sometimes Tony, sometimes Dean Delray. Oh yeah, Dean Delray. But Tiffany was my girl.
Damn.
That's fucking awesome.
Just to go back to those early days of Kill Tony, when did you actually see, this is a young podcast ourselves, so we're like just wondering, when did you start seeing like the uptick and like, oh, this is about to catch on?
It was a slow, like I said, it was a slow, because ours was seeing it live, having an audience in front of us, you know, and just seeing like every week, like, well, we got one more this week than we did last week, and then the next week, well, we got 2 less this week, you know. And so it was a very slow thing. I would say it took a few years, and you know, just having to keep on doing it till we finally go, you know, this is starting to catch on a little, you know.
Yeah.
But even then, like, you know, I would go on JRE and try to tell Joe about it during the pod, like, oh, I got this new show called Kill Tony. With there's this guy named Tony Hinchcliffe. You know, this is before Joe didn't even knew who he was, and he's like, Joe would be like, yeah, sounds great. Check it out, guys. All right, see you guys next week. You know, and even that little bump really didn't really do much. It took a while, because I think this was like a unique show to sell, because when people are like, hear like, oh, the idea is, you know, you're listening to open mics, you immediately go, ooh, I don't want to hear open mics, you know?
Right.
So I think it was a harder sell. But then after a while, people finally got it. You know, I think people had to actually watch an episode to go, oh, I see now. You know, it's not just listening to open micers. It's actually kind of fun, you know?
And listening to open micers is part of the magic.
Right, yeah. Oh, yeah. But you know how it is. Like, you've seen open mics a million times, like how horrible that is, you know? I mean, just trying to tell me to listen to a show that's about open mics, I've been like, I'm good. I'd rather listen to.
I always use this story to describe open mics. There used to be an open mic in LA called the Melody Lounge, and one day on the way there, I threw up, and that was more enjoyable than the actual mic.
Yeah.
No, you guys are but that's the cool part about, I think, Kill Tony, is the American Idol aspect of it. Of like,
Yes.
you're seeing all this bad, but then every once in a while you see a fucking Cam Patterson, you see a Casey Rocket, you see a moment where you're like, whoa, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that, I think, is what it keeps drawing you in, because you're like, the audience, as an audience member, you're watching for like, where's the next star?
Yeah.
You know, like, I know they're gonna pick, like, but you got to sit through a psychopath who just probably wants to kill his mom or some weird, you know, some
Which has
crazy shit.
happened a few
Yeah. You've had legit murderers on your podcast.
Yeah, zoinks.
All right, should we start the pod?
Yes, we should start.
All right, Redban, none of that was recorded.
All right, cool.
Now we officially will start the pod. Welcome to the Solid Show. We got the fucking legend, our boy Redban.
What's up?
Oh, dude, the man. Redban, on the Solid Show, we like to make games for just the guest. We make a game just for the guest, so that way each game's different every
Oh,
episode.
gosh.
This game is just for you. Ehsan, you want to break this game down?
Is it the?
Yeah, we're going to do that one.
Okay. So you work the soundboard at Kill Tony.
There's a million videos of just the greatest Redban moments from the soundboard.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
with millions of views.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna play where we have like 11 sounds for
We have
you,
11 sounds for you.
and we want you to guess what they are.
Okay.
Yes.
Sounds
Val, are we ready?
Yes. So you don't see anything on the screen.
No,
but
nothing
no.
on the screen.
Okay. So the sound should come through your headphones.
Sick. Ping on a tent.
Wow. It's a woman squirting. But
I'll give you-
peeing on a tit is
Well,
close.
it's in the wilderness.
You were in it.
Also, peeing, women squirt, same thing.
Yeah, same thing.
But on the tent was like, wow, I hear it.
I definitely hear it. All right, Redban, you got the first one. All right, second one.
Hold on, I just realized I have my playback speed. There we go.
Ooh. Yeah, that's I want to say Gears of War.
It is just gun shooting.
Oh, okay.
Yo, I was with him. I was like, oh, is it Halo?
It's like you know what's funny? I only listened to the first gun shooting. I didn't listen to the second like space type gun shooting.
Yeah, okay, 'cause I'm like, I thought video game.
Yeah,
like,
I was
whoa.
at first I was like, it's Operation Wolf. You know? Then it sounded Alien, so I was like, Gears of War.
Yeah, I'll give you Gears of War. It did sound like Alien. I was like, well, that's crazy. I should have listened to the whole
You
thing.
should have, you idiot. What the fuck? All right, next one, Val.
Next one.
I can turn it up.
All right, no, I don't need it. That's Janice farting.
On the money.
She has a very small asshole.
On the money. That is Janice farting. That was actually Janice farting. That was a wet fart.
Yep. It's kimchi.
Okay.
Modem.
Yes.
Yeah,
but-
you nailed it, right?
Yeah, more specifically. Hold on, do you hear that?
Yeah, it's a modem connecting to the internet.
There we go. Yeah, it's dial-up.
It sounds like
Wow.
a 56K modem.
Wow, Redban.
Oh, wow.
You lived a million years, dude.
that sound is so foreign to our younger listeners.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
You're like, what the fuck was that noise? It's like, no,
Yes.
that's how we used to get on the internet.
Yeah, that used to be the most annoying sound ever to us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did hate that sound.
And then you couldn't use the phone.
Yeah.
Val?
What the? So, at first I thought it was the woman stomping on grapes
Legendary video.
because she was like, "Ow, ow, 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 ow." And then it turned into like, "Oh yeah, pee out." And shit, I have no idea. If that, is that what are you looking for? Is that a cartoon character or
Oh,
something?
wow. Oh,
Yes.
that's, okay, okay.
That's, I think that's beyond my time, but I'm ready to guess it is. Fuck, what's that one called? I don't remember. I don't know. It's beyond my time.
It was Alvin from the Chipmunks
Oh.
screaming for P. Diddy to stop.
Oh, Alvin!
The P. Diddy no is crazy.
That's hilarious.
Next one, Val.
Windows, closing down Windows.
Ooh, it's the starting up iMac. So,
Oh shit!
yeah, right, but also very wrong. At
but
the
he was
same
right.
time- yeah, he was right, but also exact opposite.
Right. Yeah. I don't know why. Duh. Fuck. I
They
can't
don't-
believe I didn't get that.
Yeah. I was like, this should be you knew the 56K modem.
I know.
That's crazy.
Well, yeah, and I have like all Macs too, so it's ridiculous.
Okay, Val, the next one.
One sec. Turning up the volume.
I can breathe.
Whoa! Wait, can I get it again?
I can breathe.
I better not say what I was going to say.
No, say what you were going to say. You're probably right.
No, I'm not going to say that. But it says, "Let me breathe." Like, is it? It's not that, is it?
Correct.
Yeah, correct.
We're not even going to say it, but it was that.
was
We all know it.
exactly
Okay. All right. He was just trying to sell cigarettes. Leave him alone.
Next one, Val.
Du meine Arbeit für richtig hältst, ob du glaubst,
Elon
dass
Musk.
ich fleißig bin, dass ich gearbeitet habe.
Correct. That's
Yo,
it.
correct, dude. 100% correct.
Great answer. The next one.
That, you know, nigga this, nigga please, nigga, you know, can you lend a nigga a pencil?
Whoa. Midwest white open micer.
You were close. It was a white teacher.
Oh, okay.
It was literally a white teacher talking to you.
Yeah.
That's a real video.
Have you ever seen that video?
No, I haven't.
That's a real video.
Oh my God. You just look up Midwest teacher saying
God,
that.
it's a white guy?
So
It's so,
funny.
bro, it's so funny,
Because
bro.
he got suspended for saying it, and he was like, "Why can't I say it?" And he just dropped it like
Well,
seven
he goes,
times.
they say it in my class all the time. Nigga this, nigga that. Like, can you lend a nigga a pencil?
It's weird. It is weird because so many people just still don't know. Like, you know, I think it's like playing Xbox Live too much, or like hanging out with like Halo players or Call of Duty people. But you see all these like people that still use that word because they think, oh, all my friends are black and I'm allowed to do it, or you know, like, no, you're not really. I mean, whatever.
All right, the next one.
Oh, that was Tim Allen from Home Improvement.
That is 100% correct. That's
Yo.
Tim the Two-Man Taylor.
Yeah,
Dude, Tim the fucking tool, man.
that's hilarious.
just make millions off a sound.
Fun fact: when I used to make all these videos about Carlos Mencia, I didn't want to get sued because he was threatening to sue me. So I would make it from a fake. Like at the end, I'd be like JTT online, Jonathan Taylor Thomas or whatever. And it would just show his face, and it's like jttonline.com, and it would go at the end just to throw him off, so it didn't look like Redban did it. So,
God, dude.
That's what a fucking weird connection we made there, huh?
It's weird.
I wonder if he was like, "Why is Jonathan Taylor Thomas doing this to me?"
It was great that JTT like moved up to Canada and became a student and just fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
So it's like he couldn't even respond to, like, JTT probably didn't even know about it, you know, because he was.
Dude, I love that you were just fucking with Mencia. He deserved it.
That's crazy. I think this is the last one. Yeah.
It's that real shit, yo.
Butterfly in the sky.
Come on!
I can go twice as high.
Let's get it on.
Take a look
Nigga,
in a book,
my nigga.
reading rainbow.
You think it's a game?
I can go anywhere.
I used
Suck my dick, my nigga.
Ways to grow.
Nigga.
Reading
All right, back again. What was that, Redman?
well, obviously it was Reading Rainbow, but it was that one guy. Fuck, I can't even think of his name. We're like, you know.
We know.
Oh, we know you're talking about. Suck my dick.
I was going to try to think of something funny, but no, what's his name?
DMX.
Yeah, DMX.
Yeah, that was Reading
Yeah.
Rainbow plus
DMX.
DMX.
There's a little DMX in the middle of it, dude.
Yeah.
Derek's been sending that to everybody right now.
It's my favorite video. It's my favorite
Reading
video.
Rainbow is great. I love Reading Rainbow.
Oh my God, Redman.
Thanks,
you so much.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank
dude.
you for-
seriously. Thank you. That was so much fun.
Dropping the lore on
Just
us.
dropping the lore, bro. A couple lore whores. Just lore of the rings, dude.
Before we end, are there any words that you can give to me on this side from you being on that
Always have a
side?
backup recording, like on the side. Hook up at a little cheap MP3 recorder or something like that. Have a backup, because I don't know how many times I've done a podcast and the computer crashes or something like that. You don't have any backup. Even if you have one of these cameras, have a microphone, make sure it's recording, or just I always say just buy the cheapest MP3 recorder, hook it into like whatever that has audio output, and always have a backup recording of everything, at least the audio, maybe the video, maybe put a SD card in one of these cameras and just hit like the middle one and hit record also, and if you don't need it, just record over it every week. But always have a backup, because I think luckily in my time I've only lost like a couple podcasts, and just losing one really scared the fuck out of me. So like Kill Tony, I think we have 3 backup recordings going on at the same time.
Yeah, Val, you fucking idiot. Dumbass. That's actually great advice. You said them like, oh yeah, we probably should do that.
Yeah.
And I guess on a more note, on this side, any advice for any young podcasters? I know there's probably a lot of young comics listening to this.
Don't get into podcasting. There's too many of them. No, find something unique. Like what you guys did is very unique. I have some kind of unique twist to everything. I really like your guys' you guys watching movies and stuff like that. You know, that was always very. You guys always have unique stuff going on. So try to find something unique because you know. Most people, when they do a podcast, it's just like me talking to another person. And it's just like, all right, you know, why would I ever listen to this? I could, you know, I don't need to hear two people talking. I don't know.
No, that's great
That's
advice.
great
That's
advice,
Thank
Redban.
you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank
man.
you
That was
guys.
We love
great.
you, Redban.
We love you, dog.
Love you.